Ginny and I would like to welcome you officially to the UNA USA Southern California Division 10th Annual West Coast Global Forum. Give yourselves a hand for being here today. Before Ginny makes a few comments, I just want to, first of all, introduce some of our chapter leaders and the committee that put this together, because at the end of the day, it might get just lost in the conclusion. So if you are on the committee, please stand. There's Ginny and I, and Barbara Tabiani, Mel Boynton, Judith Harris. If you're in the room, please stand. Mel Boynton is outside the table. John Bailey. Anybody else on the committee? Joy Adams. Joy's at the table outside, I think also. She'll be in the room in a moment. It's a small committee that puts this on, and a lot of work and phone calls and just great effort. So thank you to the committee. If you are a chapter leader, and there's 12 chapters and plus some college chapters of the UNA USA throughout Southern California, how many here have never heard of the UNA USA? We've made great progress, because the first couple events, about half the room raised their hands. So we have actually made some great progress, or a lot of you have been here before as well, so thank you for that too. Let me just, if you're a chapter leader, a president, or a board member of the division, or a chapter, if you would please rise so we can acknowledge you. We have San Fernando Valley, and Pomona, and Inland Empire, etc., San Diego, Santa Barbara, Whittier, Pomona Valley, Long Beach, San Diego, Santa Barbara again. Great, thank you all for being here. Okay. Now, I would like to take a moment and introduce a few of our VIPs in alphabetical order, not necessarily in any other order. First of all, one of last year's Global Citizen Award recipients, Lee Adams. Okay, thank you, Lee, for raising your hand. There you go. The Consul General of Kuwait, Faisal Al-Houli. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the name. Thank you very much for being here. The Consul General of Peru, the Honorable Anne Valos. Great, thank you, Anne. Miss Cambodia for Miss Asia USA, Miss Hospitality 2016, Shannon Chance. The Consul General of South Africa, the Honorable Danielle de Bruin Brady. Did she arrive as yet? Perhaps not. Okay. From Congressman Ted Lieu's office, Ashley Fumiko Dominguez. Okay, thank you, Ashley. Let's see here. Particular gratitude to the person who put together the audio and video that you'll be seeing today, and a great friend and helps with sound every year, really deserves honorable mention, Ken Gruberman. From the Mayor's Office, the Deputy Mayor for International Relations, Ambassador Nina Hashidian. Thank you, Nina. With the Australian Consulate, Eleanor Holmes. Did Eleanor arrive? Haven't yet? Okay, great. Well, not great because she's not here, but you know what I mean. Okay, and let's see here if there's anyone else. Yes, the Consul General of Myanmar, the Honorable Mr. Aung So Win. If there is any other, we're all VIPs, so thank you all for being here today. And actually, I'll even welcome the Mr. Hold on a second here. Yes. Anthony Chase, the spouse of one of our Global Citizen Award recipients. Thank you for being here, sir. Okay. And without any further ado, I want to turn the mic over to Ginny Hatfield for a few comments and to explain the table topics, etc.
Okay. Good afternoon, and I'd like to add my welcome to you as participants of the UNA USA SoCal Division's 10th Annual West Coast Global Forum. I see many familiar faces in the audience, along with some new ones. And I'm excited that you'll be sharing the next few hours with us as we recognize some outstanding women who are leaders in their fields and putting into practice many of the action items inherent in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. As we all realize, we live in a very challenging time, and if one listens to talk radio, reads the papers, or contributes to social media, the domestic and world situation really seems rather hopeless. But those of us here today know that this is not true. Much good is being done to help those in poverty, those suffering from diseases, those fleeing violence of all kinds, those fighting for human rights, and those seeking economic opportunity. And it is the mission of our West Coast Global Forum to congratulate those individuals, those businesses, and those nonprofits who are making a difference in people's lives right here in Southern California. So thank you for being here today, and let's begin our celebration. First off, I want to give you a little information so you can follow along the rest of the program. The restrooms, number one. To that side of the room, you will find men's and women's as you go out the door and turn left. On your table, many of you have this, or you have a little short card that has the same graphic on it. These are the Sustainable Development Goals, and you also have something that looks like this. So hold on to it. The two are connected, and you're going to find out a little bit later in the program. And depending upon which table you're seated, you'll notice there are blue cards. We have on them subject areas, I think, refugee issues. We have empowerment of women. And we also have global health and human rights. So as we progress, and hopefully maybe you've had a chance to talk a little bit while we were waiting for the program to begin, try to have a little discussion about the topic at your table. And when we get to that part of the program, which Barry will introduce, you'll get to maybe participate a little and tell us what your organization or what you personally are doing in that particular area. So that is always something we'd like to do to get this more interactive and not just have us up here, but to learn from you. We're not quite through with welcome yet. We received a very special welcome from the senior senator from California, the Honorable Dianne Feinstein. And I'd like to share that with you now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Senator Dianne Feinstein, and I'm really sorry I can't be in Los Angeles for your forum, but you might have guessed the Senate's in session. We've just passed 3 critical votes, and obviously I'm in Washington to do that. I just want to say a few words of congratulations and address this year's West Coast Global Forum. And my understanding is this is the 10th anniversary of this event. I want to make sure and give a special hello to Barry Simon, this chapter's vice president and today's event chair. This forum is his brainchild, and he's been here since the very beginning. Tonight's celebration is as much about the work of the UN Association as it is about the winners of the 2017 Global Citizen Award. So, congratulations to all of you. Each of you have made your own unique contribution to the global community, and I just want you to know that it is very much appreciated. As has been discussed throughout today's luncheon, I'm told, we need the United Nations now more than ever before, and I truly believe that. And I was present when the UN was launched in San Francisco a lot of years ago. There's no way to avoid saying it. We face a multitude of global challenges. In fact, I think in all of my public service career, this may be the most challenging time we face on the global stage. And I don't say that lightly. As the former chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, I know that the threats to our national security and those that of our allies keep the intelligence community constantly vigilant. Information sharing between allies is essential, and good diplomacy is key. We also face daunting global health and human rights challenges. And just look anywhere in the world and you see that. And this chapter of the UN Association knows this area very well. I can tell you right now, I fully support a full-funded United Nations, and I'll do all I can to prevent any senseless cuts to that goal. So to everyone in attendance today, be inspired by today's award winners. We're all global citizens, and we can all make a difference if only we try to do just that. Thank you, and have a great event.
And now it is my pleasure to introduce the president of our Southern California Division, UNA USA, Judith Harris.
I'm standing here looking out at all of you, and my heart is just swelling. I am so happy. I'm happy to be here, and I welcome and thank each of you for being here today. Your presence here makes a difference, a big difference. We're talking about the United Nations being needed more than ever. That means that you are. We go hand in hand. Thank you, Peter Yo, for taking time to be with us today. You are probably definitely one of the busiest people in the room, and to make time to come here to us in California, from Washington, D.C. is very, very appreciated. Everyone has talked already about the challenges that our world is facing. We're all aware of them, and people, when I talk about the sustainable goals, they say 17. That's so many. And when they were being developed, that's so many. We used to have 8. And my thought is the opposite. It took brilliance and really a tremendous effort to concentrate the world's needs into only 17. So I kind of see it the opposite way. And on your table, Jenny already mentioned you have the 17 goals. And that can be a little daunting to people too, as much as the challenges. But I would like to say that we have 10 chapters, and in addition to our campus chapters in Southern California, and each chapter is working on many of these goals. And the way they were developed is that they are all intertwined, so you don't have to choose one. Sometimes I speak to people and they say, well, oh my gosh, we want to work on all of them. But working on any of them advances the whole agenda because they're interconnected. So it doesn't matter what you choose something and do something. Among the chapters, each chapter has its own interests at different times. It changes over the years depending on the resources and the membership. And I encourage you to look at the information on the tables by the wall. You'll see many of the programs that we're involved with. And choose whatever your particular interest is and work on it. And like Barry, I'm going to talk a little bit later about how this came about. One person can make a difference in your community and in the world. When I go to UNA meetings and events like this, I am energized, I'm inspired, and it gives me hope. I was just talking with Peter Yo saying that I'm very careful about what I have in my home and who I have on my screen. There's a lot of challenges, and if I didn't feel that I were making a difference and I wasn't connected with other caring people, I think I'd be really depressed right now. But when I look, every seat in this room is filled, and this to me is hope. And I think together, there's nothing that we can't do, and together we're stronger. And my question that I ask myself every single morning is, if not me, who? And if not now, when? So thank you for being here. And we also have a greeting from Congressman Adam Schiff, who is some of our congressmen. He used to be mine, and he still is for a lot of people in this room. And I think here he is.
Hello, I'm Congressman Adam Schiff, and I proudly represent California's 28th Congressional District in the heart of Southern California. Although I can only join you in spirit today, I want to offer my best wishes as you gather for the 10th Annual West Coast Global Forum. The work and mission of the United Nations is vast in scope and breadth, from peacekeeping and peace building to conflict prevention and humanitarian assistance. To help educate the general public about the challenging work of the UN, the United Nations Association hosts global forums like today's gathering to inspire and mobilize the public to support the UN's vital mission. In an increasingly globalized world, it is imperative the United States maintain its strong commitment to the UN if we are to have any hope of securing a safer and more prosperous world for generations to come. I'd also like to congratulate this year's Global Citizen Award recipients: Sophia Gruskin, the Director of the USC Program on Global Health and Human Rights; Rabia Sahid, the Executive Director of the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans; and my dear friend Ellen Snortland, writer, producer, and director of Beauty Bites Beast. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you to all of you at UNA Southern California. Your members and your hard work and dedication are making this world a better place.
There's always one person I forgot to introduce. A person I consider a friend, Peter Yo. Thank you so much for being here, coming out. I know Peter's the president of the Better World Campaign and vice president for public policy and advocacy for the UN Foundation. And he's been with us before on our global forum years ago, and this is a great honor and privilege, Peter, to have you with us today. So thank you so much. Take a moment to introduce the Deputy Mayor for International Relations, Ambassador Nina Hajigian, to make a few comments. Nina?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Jenny, for putting together such a wonderful event. On behalf of Mayor Garcetti, let me welcome you all to the city of Los Angeles. We're honored to host you, and I congratulate you on a decade of important work supporting a critical global institution. Your being in this room reflects your dedication as proactive members of the global community, and we need that community now more than ever. Let me start on behalf of the Mayor and the City of Los Angeles by recognizing this year's Global Citizen recipients, Sophia Gruskin, Ramla Sahid, and Ellen Snortland. Congratulations to you all, and please keep up your incredible work. Because regardless of what is said at the national level, we know that global issues affect us right here at home. And the only way we can tackle the toughest of these issues, be it climate change, or refugee crisis, or disease, is by working very closely with other countries. And the only way to do that effectively is through international organizations, the most venerable of which is the United Nations. The work of groups like yours is vital to ensure that Americans understand what the United Nations does, so that we will continue to support its work and to strive toward the UN Sustainable Development Goals. If you haven't read these goals and the 169 sub-goals, I recommend that you do that. They're actually they're a very straightforward roadmap to a much better world. If we reach these goals, life will be improved for billions of people around the world, especially the most vulnerable, and many of us. Now, there's nothing wrong with the notion of UN reform. Not even its most ardent supporters would deny that this institution can improve. But that means we should engage more with the UN on this. And let's face it, I'm obviously preaching to the choir here, but America and each one of us needs the UN for our prosperity and our security. Now, I had the honor to be the very first mayor for international affairs for Los Angeles. And we are such a global city. Residents of the city come from more than 140 countries, and 224 languages are spoken in our public schools. I don't know actually how that compares to UN official languages. That's a lot of languages. You can walk around Koreatown and take a picture in Seoul. You can walk around Glendale and see more Armenian signs than you do English ones. That's true of many nationalities. And I'm very lucky to work for Mayor Eric Garcetti. He has a deep and nuanced understanding of global events and how those global events shape lives here in Los Angeles for all of us. Because of him, Los Angeles is increasingly acting on the world stage. He's helping to lead a group of cities to adopt climate plans that would fulfill the goals of the Paris Accord, for example. And under his leadership, we were able a couple of weeks ago to seal the deal to bring the Olympics back to the United States, which, like the UN, is a country global institution. And during his tenure, we've seen a wealth of jobs that have come from robust international trade, foreign investment, immigration, and exchanges. He stands for the values that America has always championed. He knows that our diversity makes us stronger, that cooperation is a sign of strength, not weakness. He knows that when others around the world do better, that we're better off also. So with leaders like him and dedicated leaders like all of you in the audience, we will keep building bridges across borders. We will keep working hand in hand with our partners around the world. So I ask you to continue your hard work, continue this conversation, continue to speak out for what is right, and continue pushing for change. Let me end by presenting these certificates of appreciation to our co-chairs, Jeannie and Barry, and to say thank you to them for the City of LA.
Please join me in welcoming Dina Rousseau.
Hi, everybody. I'm very, very honored to be here. And I just wanted to share with you a song that I co-wrote a few decades ago when I was about 2 years old. No, I'm kidding. And the message is timeless, and it really fits with peace and being kind to others, and it really starts with us. We're kind, we're patient, we don't judge. That trickles into our family, and then into the community, into the nation, into the world. So it really begins with us being that way, and we're mindful of that. So I hope you enjoy this song. If we all could break down our walls, we'd see there's so much joy to share. It's up to us to reach out and touch. Love is the key to harmony. If we look around at the world today, there's so much violence everywhere. It's up to us to show that we can. Love is the key to harmony. If we lend a helping hand to someone who needs a friend, we can shine the light and turn dark nights into brighter days. Love's the way. So let's give peace a chance in our lives today by giving all the love we have. It's up to us to reach out and touch. Love is the key to harmony. Deep inside, we're all the same. We need love, not fear or hate. If we take the time to free our minds, we'll begin to see some harmony. So let's give peace a chance in our lives today by giving all the love we have. It's up to us to reach out and touch. Love is the key to harmony. We all need peace and harmony. Let's pray for peace and harmony. I wish you peace and harmony. Love is the key. Love is the key.
That's just a taste. The song should be seen later. It can move you to tears. Anyway, thank you so much. So, let's hear it again for Dina Rousseau. Okay, now to explain your fortune teller, as I guess they're called, Rebecca Miranda. By the way, after Rebecca shows you a little bit about how to use the fortune teller, I will be coming out to the audience with a microphone to give you a chance to express for a moment or two what you're doing here, or what you're doing in life, what you're up to, what caused you to be here today, so that you can be known. And part of that is so that our 3 Global Citizen Award recipients can know who they're addressing when they're sharing their comments. And you might also have a comment about your table topic, and if your table has discussed your table topic, what you might have come up with in regards to that topic. So we'll be coming out to the audience shortly.
Hello everyone, I am here on behalf of Bettina Hausman, who is unfortunately unable to make it today. I just wanted to briefly explain the fortune teller game that you have that has been distributed on each of your tables. The first step of the game is to choose a color. And there's 2 different fortune tellers. There's 1 through 8, and there is another one that is 9 through 16. So the very first step is to choose a color. So you choose, say, I'm going to choose green. You spell out the word green, G-R-E-E-N. And depending on what numbers you land on, you then choose a number. And each number will correspond to a different SDG goal. And on the very back, you'll see more information about the different UN and SDG goals. You open it up like this. It's a little bit tricky if you open it up. There you go. And on the back, it has the 17th goal, an SDG goal, and more information on how to find more information on the UN and its goals. Holding it back up is more challenge for a day. Thank you so much.
So for those who have any challenge with that, we'll have a special class at 4:30. All right, so prepare your thoughts, your comments, and I'm going to come out to the audience and see what people have to say, why you're here, and what you're up to in your community. Is this on? Yes. Great. Martha? Want to stand up, please? Can you stand up?
I'm here, number one, because I really believe in the UN. I'm here because I think the UN needs our support. I'm here because I love Ellen Snortland and think she's an amazing woman. And I'm here because Adopt the Future has become my passion.
Can you say a little bit more about Adopt the Future?
Adopt a Future has to do with providing educational opportunities for 15 million children trapped in 60 refugee camps in 9 countries around the world. And it's a crisis when you're wasting that many minds. It's also a crisis if you think of 15 million illiterate adults emerging from these camps in 17 years. That's how long they're there on an average. It's a crisis of unimaginable proportions. And we can do something about it. And each chapter, so far Pasadena chapter, has managed to raise enough money to educate 14 children for 10 years.
Thank you very much. Who's next? Okay. Great. Introduce yourself and...
Thank you. I'm Rosemary van der Laan, and I'm a past leader. I'm a life member of UNAUSA, and a past leader at the national and the local levels in different parts of the United States over a 10-year period in the 90s. And I also want to acknowledge all the older, like myself, towards the end of your lives, people who have done such a lot for the United Nations, for the United Nations Association of the USA, such as a gentleman behind me, who you all know. And really why I came and put myself out to come here today, because I want to meet Peter Yale. I was at the dinner when the announcement was made by Ted Turner that he was donating $1 million to the UN Fund. What keeps me going is the UN wire that comes from the UN Foundation. Twice a week, I think, sometimes 2 times, sometimes 3 times. That's my inspiration. And because I want to say a word to all the new members here, and the new people who are interested in, again, keeping the United Nations a vital part of the world and of the United Nations, I want to say, never give up. There's always something you can do. You could always make everything better. If I look back over the last 50 years of my life, a lot of progress has been made. Never give up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Who's next? You have a burning thought? What are you up to? What's going on? What has to be here today?
My name is Anita Knickeball. My nonprofit is Local Choices for Global Respect. We focus on the fact that choices, when we hear about something happens, it's not a thing. This is a thing we can hold in our hand. But what happens in our world is when there's peace or war is created by our choice. And my one thought I'd like to leave with you is Eleanor Roosevelt said in the Smithsonian, We women, and I want to include me, we women need to take our skills from a domestic level, like a personal level, to a social level. So hats off to everyone who had their children raised and now have chosen whatever cause that interests you to help make our world a better place. And I want to thank one person. My Eleanor Roosevelt is Barbara. Barbara Bellenmuller is like my Eleanor Roosevelt. She's an inspiration. She's widow of Robert Mueller, Assistant Secretary General for the UN. And when you have someone to inspire you, it's really helpful. So find a Barbara in your life.
Great, very nice. Thank you. Thank you. It's a great introduction for Barbara.
Thank you, Anita. Could be because she joined us last Saturday on the 9th, actually, on the pier in Santa Barbara, where we had 50 UNA Southern California Division members, and I bless each of you who joined us. We were able to have Rachel as our speaker. She was so inspiring. And my little ad in this booklet is Partners for Peace. Find those Rotary clubs in your chapter area. They are hungry for you. We are a perfect match. So I say, join a Rotary Club, or at least speak to a Rotary Club. And I want to thank Anita, and I want to thank all of you who have been partners with me. I've been a president of the UNA for 5 years. My late husband died in 2010, and I said, we still don't have peace on the planet, as Peter knows, as so many of you know. When Ted Turner came to our farm in Costa Rica, he said, well, where is that Robert Mueller? And I said, he's in the bathroom. And he said, well, if he doesn't get out here right now, I'm not going to go down to the University for Peace, which he co-founded. And out came Robert. And Ted Turner said, now what do you want me to do? You know how he says things like that. And he said, well, why don't you donate some money to the UN? And the rest is history. And he did it for one reason, to be an example. We all have been money to the UN. Thank you, Barry. Congratulations on your 10th year.
Any burning comments? Yes. That's all right.
So good afternoon, everyone. This is actually my first UNA meeting, so I'm very excited to be here today. I'm particularly excited because I'm glad to be a part of this event as honoring one of my friends and mentors, Sophia Gruskin, who was my professor when I did my MPH many years ago, so I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Parveen Parmer. I'm the director of the Division of International Emergency Medicine at USC. We do work to support emergency care systems globally and to work with populations that are affected by conflict in basically doing research to ensure that we're using the most evidence-based approaches to giving them services around healthcare and gender-based violence and related issues. And I personally work with refugee populations. And I'm just thrilled to be here.
I have a question for you. Given those global conflicts, is there any comment you could share about the effect on the health of Californians?
So glad you asked that question. One of the things, so I work at LA County Hospital. I'm an emergency physician, so I take care of patients that are homeless from Skid Row. I take care of people that are hardworking immigrants from all over the world. I take care of our undocumented patients, and it's such a privilege to be able to do it. I think that we're in a particularly scary time right now because my patients are afraid to seek care. And one of the things that we're trying to do, there's a group of physicians actually in Los Angeles called Los Angeles Physicians for Health that is coming together on a regular basis to support the work of politicians that actually want to stand up for access to care for our patients in Los Angeles County and around the world. So it is affecting our patients, and it's something we all need to really do something about.
It's interesting. I don't know you, but you just joined the Rotary Club, didn't you? It's funny that you said about Barbara being the Eleanor Roosevelt for you. I remember back in 1819, whatever, no, 2013. Huh? Okay. Barbara and I just finished a book, and I said to her, I've been working with Barbara quite a bit as part of the United Nations Association. very much if you became the next Eleanor Roosevelt. And she's a little shy today. Barbara's got a new book coming out called Peace Begins With Us and Starts With a Conversation. So sometime when you get a chance, you can meet us over there at our book. So, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Barry. You know, Tom, you smile all the time.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to the other side of the room. Hold on 1 second. We're going to stop right here. We'll do 1, 2, 3, and that'll be it.
My name is Gasha Tahir. We planted over 1 million trees in Ethiopia, Muslims and Christians together. And now here we are next week in Sacramento for United Nations. We're going to plant peace for different indigenous people and religious groups. And thank you for Mary. I really appreciate it.
Gasha, thank you very much for being here. Gasha's one of the sweetest men on the planet. Was imprisoned, was beaten, and he turned that whole experience into a creation of creating a new country with 1 million trees in Ethiopia. You're an amazing guy. Thank you, Gasha, for being here. And for those of you who might be interested, there is an ad for his organization in the program journal with his website. So if you want to find out more about Gasha's work, there you go. Thanks so much. Where did I go? Who was it?
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Lee. I am a member of United Nations Association, San Fernando Valley chapter. I'm also with the international nonprofit organization called Doctors Against Forced Organ Harvesting. And last year we were working with the U.S. House of Representatives, and they passed a resolution condemning the persecution of people with belief and forced organ harvesting from prisoner of conscience in China. And this year, the U.S. Senate has introduced Senate Resolution 220, and what I have here is a petition for all of us to sign and asking our Senator Feinstein and Harris, to co-sponsor this resolution. It's also asking, doing the same thing as the House of Representatives. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Negretti, and I am at a table of women representing the American Association of University Women since 1881. We have worked continuously to empower women with improved education, pay equity, civil liberties, and we are so happy to have for many years sponsored this forum. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. What's part of the mission of the AAUW? Part of the mission of the AUW?
Is to improve the lives of girls and women in education. Pay equity is a big issue for us, and luckily we're in California where we paved the way. We have over 100,000 men and women who support our organization and work throughout the United States for these goals.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Work our way back up here. Great pleasure for me to introduce our national advocacy, I'll call him the director of national advocacy. That may not be his official title, but he is the director. And so Mel Boynton has the advocacy moment, and he'll be also introducing our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Barry. I am pleased to be the National Advocacy Chair for UNA, and also a proud member of the Pomona Valley chapter, and I serve with Jenny and with Barry as the Vice President of the Southern California Division. So it's just an honor to be with all of you today. I know you're all leaders in your own right, and it's it's truly a memorable crowd. The first thing I have to do for you is tell you to bring out your cell phone. I know. What's a speaker doing? Telling you to pull out a phone. And I want you to go to your settings and choose Wi-Fi and enable it. It's going to speed up your phone a little bit. Because what we're going to do is do some advocacy right here, right now. And while you're setting your Wi-Fi, I'm going to tell you that our advocacy agenda as a UNA USA, we have multiple agenda, but the 4 top ones are full funding for the UN, and our senator has told us some of the reasons. Peter will fill us in on some other reasons why this is so important. It's still very much under threat. You'll hear. We stand with refugees. We're proud to stand with refugees. They are some of the most victimized people on the planet, and we are proud to stand with them, and the UN is a key to the future for refugees. 3, we stand for the UN Paris Climate Agreement, and we know why. It's one of the existential threats of our lifetime. And of course, we support the global goals. And you're here today and getting the material and having a discussion. So this is an important part of what we are, and I'm going to invite you to TCE, yes, TCE, that's the California Endowment, I think is what it stands for. So with your phone working and out, I want you to go to your Google search, and I want you to search the 2 words, UNA advocacy. That right with you. Well, I'm just trying to keep it simple, Barbara. You know, I'm a simple guy. I need it simple. Yeah. Okay. You're probably right. Okay. And then we're going to go to, let's go to advocacy, just the top link there, advocacy UNA USA. Click on it, and it's only got 120 people asking for the same thing at the same moment. So let's see how it goes. If you're in a hurry and you need to have it go better, you can turn off your Wi-Fi and use your data plan, which I'm going to do. Maybe I overestimated Wi-Fi's capacity. So, UNA advocacy, it works. Everybody got this website up on their smart device. You can do this on an iPad too, but I see most of us have our phones. This is great. And the second one down says support bold U.S. leadership on climate action, which is one of our top goals. And Micah Spangler, one of the many people that works with Peter, and one of my favorite people, says this is a current good one for us. And you tap on the click here, and you may have to hit click here again in the middle of the page. And it will give you a form. Tell Congress to oppose President Trump's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. You know, we can make a lot of difference. Los Angeles is not only avant-garde for climate and many other things, we're also a city for CDAW. Many of you know what that means. It means empowering women and equal opportunity across the board. And since our Congress is doing that, cities are doing it around the country, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, and others. Down on this form, it says contact information. You fill out the contact information. So look there, prefix. First name. It needs everything. If it's got an asterisk on it, it really wants it. All right, give yourself a title if you need to. Then last name. This is done through the UNA and the Better World campaign, so it's secure. You don't have to worry about being marketed. Street address. If you agree, it gives you an opt-out, but if you agree, it'll encourage you to advocate again. And your street address. Second line of the address is optional. Postal code. This is an international system, so it doesn't say zip. It can be used in any country. And your city. Giving extra time for Santa Barbara. And then you select your state from the list of abbreviations. And the coming one is if you want to jump ahead, is your email. That might be the long one for some of you. It is for me. And then your home phone. You don't have to put spaces or hyphens in there, just all the numbers together. They know how to sort it. You can use your cell there. And here's the opt-out. You can check or uncheck. Update my fast action profile with this information. I checked it, but you don't have to. And then the letter is there, and it can be customized. So it's talking about our support for climate action, and then the pre-existing paragraph is under the personalize your message section. And if you want to take a moment to make that your own, say, as a resident of this city or whatever, and then the rest of it is standard and can't be modified. When you're satisfied that it's where you want it, then your information will be inserted at the bottom of this, and then it's going to send a letter to your senators, Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein, and your member of Congress. Yes?
Where it says dear elected official.
Yes.
Am I supposed to click on it and write the name?
No, that's a great question. Do you have to customize elected official? No, it will put senator for the senators and their name, and it will put representative and the name of your representative for that letter. It's going to send 3 letters based on your zip code. And then when you're ready and satisfied, you send red button, hit it, send message. In a few moments or minutes, depending on the traffic, you will get a thing. Yes? Yeah, actually, if they just Google UNA advocacy and send an email on climate, they will figure it out. If they can't figure it out, ask anyone under 20. They'll figure it out.
Make sure you go to livestreamers.com, not live stream. It's 2 different ones. livestreamers.com.
Livestreamers is the URL. Thank you, Barbara. All these questions are great because they get us all together and going forward. That's wonderful. We were in New York last year, also with Peter and many of the team, and we were doing live advocacy in New York. We will have another opportunity at the end of our gathering today to do some more. Feel free to use some of these links to send more. So I've just given you one. If you want to support funding and haven't done it before, feel free to click on the funding link. It will help keep our elected representatives motivated to support that. Now I have the fun job. I actually enjoy the advocacy too. We had a great day on the Hill. We had a great advocacy event in New York, in Members Day. We were in the General Assembly Hall. My goodness, where General Assembly Week is being held right this month. And it was a wonderful event. If you ever get a chance to go to Members Day in New York, it's a fabulous event. So introducing our keynote speaker today, my pleasure. I've known Peter since the merger was made. I think that was 2011. Is that right? Yeah. And this is the first time we've had a repeat speaker as a keynote for the Global Forum. And so appropriately, it's Peter Yo, and he's the president of the Better World Campaign. This is part of the UN Foundation that advocates for the UN. And the United Nations Association of the USA is a partner under Peter's guidance. Our organization reports to Peter in Washington, D.C. He's the Vice President of Public Policy and Advocacy at the United Nations Foundation, and he joined the foundation in 2009 after more than 20 years in senior roles at the State Department and on Capitol Hill. He's an expert in UN relations. He has been featured on MSNBC, Foreign Policy, the New York Times, The Hill, among others. He's a frequent contributor to the Huffington Post. So if you subscribe to any or all of those, you know who he is. He was on the board of the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition and a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. He knows Capitol Hill very well. He began his career on Capitol Hill as a legislative assistant for Representative Sam Ditchison, a Democrat from Connecticut. And also from 1997 to 99, he served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of State. In that capacity, Yo led the negotiations around repayment of the U.S. arrears to the United Nations. In 1999, Yo went on to be the Deputy Staff Director at the House Foreign Affairs Committee, chaired by Representative Tom Lantos, a good friend from California, and Representative Howard Berman, also of California. Yo joined BWC and UNF in 2009 as Vice President for Public Policy at UNF and Executive Director of BWC. He was promoted to President of BWC in 2015, and under his leadership, BWC has helped ensure payments from the U.S. government to the UN for 6 consecutive years. Yo received his bachelor's degree in East Asian Studies from Wesleyan University and a master's in East Asian Studies from Harvard. Join me in welcoming Peter Yo.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Mel. Thank you, Ginny and Barry, for inviting me to be here. It's nice to see so many UNA longtime partners and friends in crime. Judith, it's been such a pleasure working with you over the years, and Gina, I've really enjoyed you so much. So thank you all for coming today. A few miles from here last week, It created community held one of its marquee moments, the Emmy Awards. Stars dressed in their finest, producers and directors working a crowd, accepted speeches delivered to a local audience. Well, nearly 3,000 miles away, the United Nations was having its own marquee event, the opening of the UN General Assembly. Now, a little bit less glitz, definitely a lot less planned, but for the UN and UN member states, it was just as important. If you substitute business suits for tuxedos, UN diplomats for Hollywood producers, and speeches by presidents and prime ministers for acceptance remarks, you get the idea. Now, I just got back from the UN General Assembly a few days ago, so I'd like to share with you a few highlights from the opening session, and then dive deep into President Trump's approach towards the UN and foreign policy during his week in New York. And then I'd like to talk about why this matters to you, the United States, to the United Nations, because I believe that the UN is needed now more than ever. Now, you can't talk about UNRWA without the star attraction. Speeches by presidents and prime ministers of 193 UN member states, from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe, in the UN General Assembly Hall, crowded with diplomats in their best professional attire. This is their moment, once a year, to talk to the world about the issues that concern them the most. Japanese Prime Minister Abe expressed grave concern about the nuclear and missile developments in North Korea. British Prime Minister Theresa May, conservative, listed climate change, along with nuclear proliferation, as an equal threat to the planet. Iranian President Rouhani defended the Iran nuclear deal. And now President Raqqa said that the failure of the world to live up to the Paris climate agreement threatens small island states, such as his own. So check out the speeches and have them out as learners in your schools to do so. These remarks are online. And for those of us who actually care about what's on the mind of other countries, they are an excellent resource for us all to read. But if you focus solely on speeches, you miss the importance of diplomacy and activity at the margins of the UN General Assembly. Entire areas of the UN are set aside for the organization's unique form of speed dating, where officials from around the world engage on the grounds of intense diplomacy. And sometimes speed dating can lead to a second date and a longer relationship down the road, where there's a real opportunity to make progress on security and the development of humanitarian issues. But the UN also organizes thematic discussions to discuss the world's most significant problems. I'll give you two examples. The Paris Climate Agreement, which is moving forward regardless of the Trump administration policy, was the subject of several high-level sessions last week. Your own governor, Jared Brown, was a featured speaker at these events, making the argument, along with other state and local officials, that we are a country of diverse policy centers, including Mayor of LA, and that jurisdictions throughout the U.S. are ready and willing to take additional steps in the context of the Paris Agreement to reduce carbon emissions. The UN Security Council also organized a thematic discussion on the future of the United Nations peacekeeping. Now, there were two important takeaways as a result of this discussion. First, the United Nations must place greater emphasis on peace-building efforts and conflict resolution. To stop the devolution of countries into the strife and turmoil that necessitates the deployment of a set of peacekeeping missions daily. This is a personal priority of our new Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. And the second conclusion is, if we do need to deploy peacekeepers, they've got to be better trained and better prepared. But official events aside, the opening of the UN General Assembly has basically become a mecca for thousands of other global players in the global community. As an example, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation held a high-profile goalkeeper event. The purpose was to focus the world's attention on the 17 U.S. development goals and specifically priority achievement goals by 2013, so that we can collectively hold the world's leaders accountable to to the progress we make towards the goal. And if we're not making progress, how do we change the dynamic? How do we move energy into achieving the goal? That's the purpose of the society and so that gives us a snapshot of what I see to do in General Assembly from official speeches decided. But I want to dive deep, however, on one aspect of the meeting, which is how President Trump approached the United Nations and the role of his first human appearance. I raise this because U.S. leadership in the United Nations is not only important financially to the organization and its work, but it can also make or break key UN initiatives vital to the global community and to make our national security and foreign policy stronger. So, I would suggest, however, that we look at the President's remarks in New York last week with two different lenses: American relationship with the United Nations and the broader American foreign policy. Because frankly, the President handled them differently. So let's start with the UN. In his first public speech, President Trump saluted the work of the United Nations in seeking to address the problems that cause people to flee from homes. He highlighted the valuable contributions made by UN peacekeeping missions and thanked the Secretary General for seeking to reform the UN. While he had a long list of complaints about the organization, the President said that the American financial investment in the United Nations would be easily well worth it if the UN meets its goals and continues to reform. In a toast the day before, President Trump said, "The potential of the United Nations is unlimited, and I really believe you're going to do things that will be epic." I would feel very, very confident. So, what accounts for these relatively positive statements from the President, who has in the past been highly skeptical of the United Nations? First, the President clearly trusts U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley and defers to her on all things United Nations. Haley is off to a strong start in New York and has had success in advancing American interests in the context of the security conflict. Second, Nikki Haley and his Secretary General have developed a very close partnership on the reform. They talk to each other frequently, and as a result, Ambassador Haley has told the President that we have Secretary General committed to reform and change, and the President is believing those assurances given by the United States. So therefore, we believe at the moment the President views the United Nations as a partner moving forward on the enemy. And this is a significant development with major consequences for U.S. relationship with the UN. But it certainly doesn't mean smooth sailing. Future U.S. participation in the UN Human Rights Council is questionable. There's no funding for the UN Population Fund. And the President's budget last year, and probably next year, proposed major UN budget cuts. Though as a result of your hard work in Southern California, Congress has largely rejected a slash-and-burn approach towards the UN budget. So we are cautiously optimistic. But it is a broader foreign policy national security frame that was relevant to the last year. It is under which the President repeatedly said national sovereignty should be the guiding principle of affairs between nations. Now, we're all for American sovereignty, but that sovereignty needs to be paired with the people commitment to leading and participating in coalitions of nations committed to solving global challenges. There is a global common good. Ending extreme poverty, stopping climate change, promoting gender equality, ensuring respect for human rights. That comes from strong, sovereign nations working together. And that frankly is missing from the speech. The President's language related to rogue regimes also broke some new ground. Most notably, the President said that the U.S. would totally destroy North Korea if forced to defend itself, and taunted the North Korean leader as a blackmail. Aside from threatening to destroy another country in the roster of the United Nations, the language may be counterproductive. It feeds into a false narrative that Kim Jong-un and the North Korean leadership tell their citizens that North Korea must sacrifice economically to build its nuclear missile program because the U.S. wishes to destroy the nation. So, the President also used language related to other rogue regimes such as Venezuela and Iran that was stronger But the opening session at Open was an important reminder of why the United Nations and American leadership should matter to us. Hosting intense diplomatic negotiations to serve own place for everyone in its own state. The UN serves an important role, a role envisioned by the founders of the UN 70 years ago. When the UN Charter was carefully negotiated in California in 1945, the drafters not only envisioned the type of high-level diplomacy in New York, but concrete work in the field to advance the global good. This year, I had a chance to see the United Nations at work firsthand, and I wanted to briefly share my observations of the Central African Republic and Guatemala. It gets to the issue of why the United Nations matters now more than ever. A few weeks ago, I led a bipartisan congressional observance of the Central African Republic, which is a large and growing UN peacekeeping mission with more than 10,000 soldiers from 26 countries. Democratically elected government there faces an onslaught of rebel militias and burgeoning refugee crisis. Christian and Muslim communities throughout the nation are routinely attacked by armed groups. Killings, rapes, kidnappings, child soldiers, and these attacks are going up, not down. But in this sea of bad news, there's hope. We visited the town of Bambari, which had previously been an epicenter of unbelievable violence. But as a result of the United Nations peacekeepers assuming control of the town, it had become free of armed groups. In the town of Bambari, the United Nations peacekeepers are the primary defenders of more than 2,000 Muslim slaves held in the church there, and where they certainly be attacked if the UN peacekeepers were. And there's a growing consensus that the United Nations Security Council may send more peacekeepers to the Central African Republic in November, with the goal of pressuring the Syrian armed groups not to negotiate and, most importantly, to actually live up to the agreements that they signed. This mission is coming at a great price. 14 peacekeepers were killed in the country this year alone. And you, as taxpayers, pay quarter of the bills for this mission. But I believe it's worth it to help protect the civilians I know in the Central African Republic and to prevent the country from completely falling into chaos. And in February of this year, I went to Guatemala to examine the UN's work to empower girls to take control of their own lives. We saw UN programs that are achieving real results for girls. An after-school safe space program in Llano de las Costas, a small indigenous village in western Guatemala, we had a 14-year-old girl named Ursula. Her own mother, who I met, had 17 kids. But as a result of the work supported by the UN Population Fund, Ursula is now understanding the importance of self-esteem while getting concrete information about sexual and reproductive health and rights. Just as important, Ursula is practicing with your friends on how to quietly but firmly say no to early marriage. Now, remarkably, the UN's work in Guatemala is possible because of hundreds of girls in the Los Angeles area. At high school and colleges throughout the city, LA girls working through the UN Foundation for Love campaign have raised money, advocated on behalf of the UN's work with lawmakers in Washington, and educated their friends and communities about the importance of supporting girls around the world, including in Latin America. So if we care about the UN as important, we need to learn from the smart young women in LA. We need more gatherings like the West Coast Global Forum to spread the word, and we need to prioritize reaching out to our policymakers to ask them to prioritize the United Nations. We need more field-focused advocacy now more than ever. In response to the low budget request of the UN beginning of the administration, USA members throughout Southern California swung into action, repeatedly contacting the lawmakers, demanding that they support full UN funding and leadership. These calls, emails, letters, meetings were made, even though, as we saw from the videos at the beginning of the program, you're blessed with members of Congress
who care about the UN. But I can assure you, when their staff asked them to make those videos, it wasn't a coincidence that you had Senator Feinstein and Congressman Schiff over to Twitter. They did that because they heard from you saying, prioritize the UN. This stuff matters. If things don't materialize at a level, it materializes to get you asked. So to try out, we need all legislators to lead, to speak on the House floor, support amendments, to fund the UN, and to use the congressional hearings to raise the UN's unique role, unique contribution to global security. We have a real opportunity here in California through Senator Kamala Harris. She has visited the U.S. Italian refugee camp in Fort Worth and spoke out against the administration's decision to withdraw from the UN Paris Climate Agreement. Thank her and ask the senator now to speak out forcefully for full funding for the United Nations at Climate. She needs to hear from you, even if you already have mentored her once. We're going to need this activism in the months and years ahead. We have convinced Congress to disregard the President's extremely negative budget request for the UN and what funding levels for the United Nations that are largely a continuation from last administration. That said, we will still come up $250 million short in 2017 and $230 million short next year. This means that the countries who contributed to the contributed troops, the mission I just saw in Central African Republic, and other UN peacekeeping missions will not be paid. I think that's wrong. So let's keep at it. Our founder and chairman, Ted Turner, would expect no less. He's still our chairman, and every time that we have a board meeting, I tell him about what we're doing at the United Nations Association. He says, the strategic alliance between UN Foundation and the United Nations Association is the best thing we've ever done. So he's incredibly enthusiastic about what we're doing. I look forward to reading your tweets about the UN on my flight back to DC this evening by #TheOverEA2. I can't wait to hear about your district meetings with your members of Congress over the next few months. And I invite you to join us for UNA Members Day at the UN in February, a great event in New York, and our Leadership Summit in Washington next summer. And like the Emmy Awards and the opening of the UN General Assembly, let these be our key moments. Thank you very much.
Stay up here. Okay. On behalf of the division, it's my pleasure to present this small token of our appreciation for your sharing your expertise with us today and making the trek in one day and back. And I'm sure that many of your families as well. Hopefully it's at one of those times you've all been waiting for, because you're going to get to meet our three global citizens up close and personal. So I would ask that Sophia and Ramla and Ellen come up on stage and each grab a seat. And I should mention that Congressman Ted Lieu's office has presented certificates of recognition on behalf of Peter and our honorees today. So they all will be receiving one. It's my pleasure to introduce a true global citizen, Her name is Sophia Gluskin. And Sophia is a scholar and advocate in the field of health and human rights who has contributed to advancements from global policy to the grassroots level. She currently serves as a professor of preventive medicine at the Keck School of Medicine and professor of law and preventive medicine at the Gould School of Law at USC. She received her BA degree from UC Santa Cruz, a doctorate in jurisprudence from Cardozo School of Law, and a master's degree in international affairs from Columbia University. In addition to teaching full-term courses, Professor Gruskin has been invited as a guest lecturer in a variety of academic classes, and over the course of her career has partnered with the World Health Organization, the United Nations Development Program, the United Nations Population Fund, IPAS, Open Society Foundation, and local organizations and universities in Brazil, India, and Vietnam, among other international partners. Professor Gruskin is recognized as a leader at the cutting edge of conceptual and programming advances. To quote her, "We have to recognize that law impacts health, and we need to know when the law is harming and when it needs to change." As director of UC's program on global health and human rights, she oversees projects all over the world in the following areas: child and adolescent health and human rights, non-communicable diseases and human rights, HIV and human rights, sexual and reproduction health and rights, and conceptual and operational linkages. Here to explain her work and its impact is Professor Gluskin, our global citizen.
And thank you so much to the association for the award, and actually to all of you for being here. I'm extremely grateful, and I'm quite humbled by the award, and also to be with these two amazing women. It's particularly wonderful also for me to be honored here in Los Angeles, a place I now so happily call my home. I also want to thank you, Peter, for the amazing work that you do and that the foundation does. I too was at the UN last week. I was at a side event during the General Assembly, and we were trying to move forward some of our work to improve the health and human rights of women, of children, and of adolescents. And as luck would have it, our meeting was on Tuesday afternoon, the same Tuesday that Trump in the morning had given his speech to the General Assembly. It was not the easiest time to have a meeting, okay? And I don't just mean the crazy security issues that were kind of making everyone late to meetings, including myself. All right, but before our meeting, we had brought together people from every region of the world. We brought together governments, UN agencies, civil society, and the idea was that we were trying to hammer out an implementation and research agenda with the hope that we could make a real difference to people's lives around the globe. And let me say, and it's not surprisingly, the tone was incredibly sober. There was real concern from everyone in the room about where we are as a world now and where it is that we're headed. And we all couldn't help but talk about how different things have been less than 2 years ago. At the time when we last been together, we were pulling together the initial framework. Now, that was coming off of the beginning of the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goal. And in comparison, you could have called the tone then before, right? At that time, we had been justly concerned about accountability, about ensuring that all populations, even those who were traditionally marginalized or discriminated against, were being equally supported and equally counted. We had all sorts of issues we thought were incredibly important and needed immediate attention. But at that time, we also had the financial and the political commitment of all countries of the world, including this one. And there was a sense at that time of a global course of action to end poverty, to promote health and well-being, and dare I say it, to address climate change. So, where are we now? Now, I have to say on the positive side, there is a great deal of new and exciting on behalf of Ramla Sahib. Ramla Sahib was born in Somalia. She came to the United States as a refugee, and she attended San Diego State University, where she holds a degree in nutrition. And because of her work in nutrition, she worked very hard with the Mid-City Community Advocacy Network. And as such, she was really promoting the Affordable Care Act. She currently serves as the Executive Director of the Advancement of New Americans, or PANA. And she, as that director, oversees the organization's growth as a leading voice for refugees in San Diego. And in San Diego, we have over 100,000, close to 200,000 refugees. And she works right in the center of the refugee community in City Heights, and that's where her office is. And PANA is a research, public policy, and community organizing hub for refugees. PANA lifts up pressing issues that impact refugee families and works to find policy solutions on all issues related to refugees. She's very active in the San Diego Democratic Women's Club. She serves as vice president and as a strong proponent of getting more women elected to office. I'm going to be pushing Ramla in that direction. We're all advocates for gender equality, Sustainable Development Goal number 5, and I'm going to hold you to that because I really want you to do that. Please welcome Ramla Sahib.
Thank you, Anne, for that really incredible introduction. Now I'm kind of scared. I also want to thank Barry and Gina for putting together such an incredible event for all of us today and for hosting this evening. And I want to thank everybody who's part of the committee for the Southern California Division. Really incredible, amazing people. And Bettina, who leads our local chapter, is just an incredible human being to get to know over the last several years. I'm also really thrilled to share the work of PANA with you, the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, and to share a little bit about our work. Our mission is to promote the fair treatment, equitable inclusion of refugee communities using organizing to achieve collective impact and policy change. That's a lot of words. What it means is we're taking that next step of resettlement. As we resettle refugees in a new home, it's really important that we're also thinking about what it means to have long-term inclusion for our communities. And you can't think about inclusion and equity and all of these other things if we're not doing the basic thing of ensuring our newcomer families are engaged in the electoral life and public policy life of their new home. And are advocating and have relationships with lawmakers around the issues that are most pressing for them and their children. And especially at a time when there's so much at stake and so much uncertainty globally and a deliberate targeting of our communities locally, we should unite around our shared principles and shared values. And as we do this, it's really also important to center the voices of communities most impacted by the issue. And so at PANA, what that means for us and what that looks like practically on the ground is we're engaging newcomers who come from all over the world, the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia. We're engaging them and training them to become leaders, to connect the individual experiences they have, the community experiences they have, and to translate that into public leadership. And when we center the voices of refugees on important issues in San Diego, like affordable housing, we can start to see real important conversations take place about what it means to actually care for those most marginalized and vulnerable in our communities. Because we know that when those
the most marginalized and disenfranchised are engaged and are taken care of, that we all win, right? What is that old saying that a rising tide lifts all boats, literally? Our vision is a world where refugees are connected global leaders building transcontinental movements to advance meaningful freedom for all. And I think that vision couldn't speak more perfectly to the sustainable goals, right? Because what we're talking about is also remembering the communities we left behind and the families we left behind. And then as newcomer families, that first opportunity we get to become citizens, we grab it. I know this more than anybody else as a refugee woman myself or coming from a refugee background, because we have families we left behind and we want to see them as soon as we can and as often as we can, right? And then taking that next step. So in our research, we actually found that most of our newcomer families, yes, are indeed becoming citizens. Yes, they're registering to vote. 60% of them don't actually go out and vote. Okay? But the small percentage of folks who do go out and vote, it's kind of interesting because they're voting every opportunity they get, including special elections. So they're not just turning out for when Obama, was campaigning. And that's an important learning to have, because what we're learning is when people are connected, they're engaged in real conversations about the issues that impact them, and they understand why they're going out and to vote, they vote consistently and at a higher rate than everybody else. And if we can achieve that, right, in San Diego, we can see a more visible refugee electorate. We can start to shift the conversation locally around the priorities our cities have, right, and where resources go and how we take care of our families. And if we can do that, then we're advancing equity, we're advancing true inclusion in San Diego. And then to remember that we left behind families, so the conversations we have at our house meetings are also important to connect. As global citizens, we need to know how our national conversations and national rhetoric is impacting the lives of people here and the families that they left behind. And I like to tell the story of Ismail Haid, who was one of our community members, who was really excited on January to welcome new family members who were supposed to be reunited with him. He got one of his nephews. The rest of the family was unfortunately taking another flight. And just that small, that small change of having one family member able to get on a flight the prior day, and the rest of the family on another flight the next day, meant the difference between coming to the U.S. and being banned. And this family now, unfortunately, has lost the opportunity to ever be, and the hope to ever be resettled in the United States, because not only are we talking about the Muslim ban and the chaos that that's created in the implementation of it, but we know the refugee screening process is very, very fragile. And the medical screening, for example, is only valid for 180 days. And so when you've got expiring processes, you've lost that chance, lost that opportunity to come, because then you've got new screenings, security screenings you have to do again, and that all takes time, and the bureaucracy of it is just so much to handle for a lot of families. So remembering that the Muslim ban, yes, it needs to be fought in the courts. We've got a new Muslim ban, an expanded ban, or Muslim ban 3.0, that was announced late Sunday evening. We have to remember it is still a Muslim ban. It's discriminatory in nature, and it's not okay. But also the effects of all this is pretty permanent for a lot of people in refugee camps. And in Thailand and Kenya, where refugee camps have been open for well over 26 years, you've got children who were born, raised, married, and have children in some of these camps, right? And so all of this is to just remind us that we have to, again, be principled people, have to unite around our shared values and goals, and be united in this fight. And none of us can stay quiet at a time when there's targeting of some of our communities, right? And for me, I take it very personally, because I still have family who we left behind in Ethiopia and in Somalia. And when we have a president who basically says that my family is a foreign enemy, it's a hard pill to swallow. And we understand that both our local fight and, at a national level, considering the rhetoric that we have, we can't do this alone. Refugees can't do this alone. We need allied communities who are willing to stand up and also say that this is not okay. We have targeting and othering of some of our community members because history is important. And we've done this, time and time again when we violated the rights of citizens during Japanese internment and when we turned away Jewish Holocaust survivors. And so to remember to inform that, and people in this room, people like us, who have always been on the right side of history, who fought against discriminatory policies and hate, and it's up to us again to stand up against what we see is kind of repeating itself. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address you. I'm really privileged and honored to be here with you today, and I look forward to getting to know most of you in the room. Thank you, all of you.
My name is Lee Adams, and I am delighted to be here. I was frightened to sit down at my computer and begin to write about my dear friend and inspiration, Ellen Snorton. Each time I put my fingers on the keyboard, I began to cry, because simple words can't contain the inspiration that this woman is for me. I have a granddaughter, I have grandchildren. I talk to them about Ellen, about a woman who wakes up and makes impossible promises, a woman who dreams of justice and equality, not just for women, but for everyone. A woman who teaches, a woman who leads, a woman who will follow, a woman who will have a wedding shower in the back of my pickup truck in the two-dog parade. There is no limit to the vastness of her vision and the depth of her humor. And her heart is open wide. And I mean wide enough that she can adopt an ugly dog and love it until it's beautiful. That's a gift. And this woman is gifted. She has supported so many people in so many ways. She's written a book, more than one book, but her book, Beauty Fights Peace, holds a vision of women having an equal stance on the planet. A woman having the right to say no, or the right to say yes, or the right to choose what she wants. Ellen's vision is a sustainable vision for the world, because women's rights are human rights, and we are here to support human rights. Ellen Snorton, I am so proud of you.
Wow, thank you so much. Boy, aren't we a lazy crew? I'm thinking, geez, get to work. I'm so honored. Thank you so much. I would be remiss to not thank my partner in life, Ken Berman, who I give him an idea and he runs with it and puts it into tech or whatever, and he travels with me through the world. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Anyway, you may wonder why I'm carrying this shawl. I was an NGO delegate to the UN Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing. And I was on the streets and I saw this woman embroidering this shawl, and I said, I want to buy that. She said, no, it's not done. It's not done. So I asked my interpreter to ask her if in Chinese they have a saying, a woman's work is never done. And she looked at me and we both laughed because she knew that.
And I said, I will wear this shawl with great pride as a symbol to a woman's work is never done. And I would include people who fight for justice. Our work seems to be endless too, because justice is not just won once, it's won over and over and over. And one of the most important qualities is persistence and grit. And so they said, no, keep going, keep going. Now, we're going to play my trailer to Beauty Bites Beast, which is now not only a book, but it's a movie. And then I will have a few other remarks after you see that.
Watch this. He balls his fist. He raises his fist. He prods her. We don't know what he says. And bam, she's had enough. The World Health Organization says 1 in 3 women are assaulted in their lifetimes. Think globally, act locally. There's nothing more local than your body. Said no one, ever. Animals learn how to hunt or defend themselves through fun and games. But mama never segregates her babies into male and female groups. They all play and learn the power of their own bodies, regardless of gender.
Once women know that they can defend themselves in a physical way, then they can defend themselves emotionally, economically, politically. I mean, there's just no end to it.
My overarching recommendation for women is to recognize that it is not a requirement that you be nice. It's better to have all the preparation you need and have nothing happen than it is to just hope everything's going to be okay.
Okay, fine, I can figure out how to hit, but to say, go away, back off, that was a really tough thing for me. A kid running out to the street and you yell, stop! You saved them. Okay, can you access that voice for yourself?
teaching people how to beat other people up. That's not the point. One thing we've noticed is that when a woman understands that she's potentially dangerous, all of a sudden everything else goes online. So that when you learn that men are simply human beings and they're not cyborgs and that they have feelings and they're just like you are, you're not so intimidated about saying no. And I'm going to give you an example that I love the best, and it's very much tied in with the United Nations. I had a layover in Nagasaki for a long time coming back from the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women. So we took a train to Osaka. And my roommate and I were the only Caucasians in the train station, and what I'm imagining, and I don't know this for sure because I don't speak Japanese, but I'm imagining a World War II veteran saw us. This was in 1995, and did not like that we were there. So he started rambling toward us and very, very drunk, yelling at the top of his lungs. And I put my hands up and I said, "Leave me alone." And very loudly, I don't want to hurt your ears. And he just stopped. Whoa. And then, my having rebuffed him that way, he saw 4 schoolgirls standing there and tottered off toward them, and I yelled, "Leave them alone!" And so he turned his attention back to me, because comes back, it's like a, ping pong ball, looking for somebody to intimidate. And so he started coming back to me, and I went, no. Then he reeled back toward the 4 girls, and they, in unison, said, no. And I know, and all the women in the train station applauded. Now, I would never have been able to say no to a drunken, out-of-control person had I not been trained to understand that if he attacked me, there's stuff I could do that would discourage him from doing that. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to engage necessarily, but I know I can, and it makes a difference in terms of how much I'm willing to open my mouth. And I assert that women not being able to, or too afraid to say no, or that's not going to happen, or back up, if we were to alter that, if we were to transform that, we would see benefits in every single 17 of the initiatives. Because women are 50% of all of those initiatives. And I made number 5 number 1 because I'm putting my money on the talents and the energy of the women who have at heart their own family and their own society. It's not a men versus women thing. It's like, hey, you know what? We're wasting half of our talent, and that doesn't work for me. And I saw Kathleen Morris, who is a sister of mine from the beginning of the days in the Hunger Project, and she reminded me of our leader, Joan Holmes, who would literally sit in a village meeting and say, we're not going to have a meeting until you have half of the meeting people be women. Where are they? And so they'd go, well, they don't go to meetings. And he says, well, I have plenty of time. I'll just sit here and wait for them to show up. And so they're like, what? And that is bold, and that is audacious. It had no force to it. She just was not going to meet with the village until they had an equal representation of women. And that takes brass ovaries to just wait it out. Just wait it out. I'm not moving, and I invite every single one of you, whenever you're anywhere, to go, well, where are the women? Well, I'll just sit here until the rest of them show up and see what happens, because it's not going to happen unless we demand that women participate fully on the globe, and that they aren't participating fully at all the tables, whether it's a kitchen table or whether it's a negotiating table. We're missing out on a lot of perspective that would not have been there unless we demanded it. So, I'm Norwegian American. It's not nice to demand, but I'm demanding full participation because we're in horror, because we don't have it yet. And if anything you liked in the trailer, it inspires you, I have 3 people here from Impact Personal Safety where we teach women how to set boundaries, whether it's emotional, verbal, or physical. And raise your hands, will you? So if any of you are interested in that, we're a 501c3, and in 3 hours you can learn things that will make a profound difference for the rest of your life. Why wouldn't you do that? Or have your organization do it, or your union do it, or your school do it. Because there are very few things in the world where you say, you know what, I walked in one way and I walked out another. That's transformation, and that's what we do. And then I want to thank everybody who came to my table, my landmark buddies and my writing buddies, and just love you, my UNA buddies. I've been a UNA member since I was 8 years old, so please sign up for that too. And that's it for me. Don't stop. Okay. No.
I just want to add that I wouldn't be here today if Ellen hadn't been president of the UNA chapter in Pasadena 12 years ago, when I was asked to help with the 60th anniversary of the UN event at the Pacific Asia Museum in Pasadena. As a result of that experience, and they liked me, invited me to be on their board, and as a result, I became a member of the UNA USA 12 years ago, and so this event came as a result of all of that. So special thanks to you. Yes. Good. So now these are 3 Global Citizen Award recipients will engage in a panel with questions and answers from each other and from you. So I invite Peter to go ahead and run with it.
Well, first of all, what a pleasure it is to be in the panel with all of you and get to know all of you. You know, my mother was on the cutting edge of the reproductive rights movement in the United States in the 70s, and I can't wait to get on the phone with her and tell her all about you guys. So, and as a Norwegian American, feel free to go ahead and demand them. You know, we have to get over our cultural bias issues. So, I'm inspired for this question by the panel on the wall, which is, for many who don't know, it's part of the AIDS bill. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, HIV/AIDS was a death sentence. It was before the advent of ARVs and other forms of treatment. And so if you got AIDS in the US, you could die. And so that's part of the memorial quilt that went around the country and memorializing a lot of people that died before the drugs became widespread. And so as you think about your own fields, whether it's working with refugees in San Diego in the community, whether it's working on human rights and global health issues, or whether it's working to making sure that women have the power to defend themselves and also work in the community, where do you want to see your work 5 years from now? Because the whole HIV situation changed dramatically as a result of advocacy and research that now, at least in the US and many parts of the world, HIV/AIDS is not a death sentence. So, where do you want to see your field 5 years from now? So, Carl, let me start with you.
So my field is so we, as community organizers, we work with our communities to prioritize an issue and take action on the issue, right? Develop a campaign plan, figure out who the targets are, try to convince them that we are right and they are wrong, and to get something done, right? And there's a lot of negotiation that happens, and so what would make my life easier, and maybe my field a lot easier, would be to have an equity assessment or tool. So if we all could just understand or come to an agreement on a set of basic truths around what it means to advance inclusion, what it means to help people get to the place they need to be to succeed and lead and live dignified lives, I think we could go a lot further. And if each lawmaker, and maybe even at the United Nations level, if each country, before weighing decisions or making decisions, could assess based on equity how does the disparity impact the population or community group, it would be better off, just a little bit better off, right?
I'm sorry, okay. Well, first of all, I also wanted to say how important the quilt is. I just need to take a moment and just kind of acknowledge how important it is to have it in the room, a piece of it, a tiny piece of it in the room, and also just to talk about how in other countries it can still be a death sentence. And the fact that what we really need to think about is how important that quilt is and how important it was and is to remember people and to learn from history and to learn in the context of HIV, but also the lessons that we can learn from HIV that we can take forward to other issues. And there's so much power in that. I mean, you go back to the 60s in the United States and you think about abortion, and you think about the number of women who died who were having unsafe abortions. And we didn't have a quilt at that time. And the ways in which this quilt has inspired people in the US and globally is, I think, incredibly important and extends far beyond HIV or to a whole range of other issues. Where I want to be in the next 5 years, I want to see the next generation being the people who are moving things forward. I see somebody at this panel right now, and I just really want to see the ways in which we can think about how is it that we don't forget history, but work with history in order to make things better as we go forward.
5 years, eh? Well, I would like physical self-defense and verbal self-defense to be accepted as a normal part of physical literacy. We all are physically literate. It's a spectrum. It used to be that people did not understand that washing their hands as they prepare food would spell the difference between life or death sometimes. So we eat food that is relatively safe. And we know how to do safety stuff in the kitchen, just common sense stuff. And we teach kids how to cross the street safely. We teach them the difference between green, red, yellow, and look both ways. Similarly, I would like to have it accepted that you teach kids how to say, please don't touch me. Have them very politely say what they want and they don't want. At this point, we shame. Is that me? All right. So, we shame little girls for saying, oh, please don't touch me. We go, oh, you're going to make Aunt Ellen feel bad. Well, too bad. That's Aunt Ellen's problem, not little Nancy's problem. And we give boys a lot more leniency. Oh, you know, he doesn't like to be hugged now. He's setting boundaries, so we sustain boys setting boundaries, but we don't sustain girls setting boundaries. So we add a lot of different kind of subtle things. So in 5 years, I want it to be accepted as a normal part of physical literacy.
Great, thank you. Now, all three of you have dealt with the UN in different ways. What's your response to most refugees that come to the U.S.? There we go. So if you could maybe all three of you just briefly give us your sense about how important is the UN to your work.
Refugees, when so conflict happens in your home, you escape to a second country. Oftentimes you go to a refugee camp, and there it's really the UN that registers you. They interview you, they vet your story, they ensure that you are indeed a refugee, and there's a criteria. And once you're registered as a refugee, that's really your first step in the pathway to finding a permanent third country of resettlement like the United States. So the UN is very important in protecting the world's most vulnerable children, women, and families who have literally escaped with almost nothing except their lives to come to a camp and to be received and to be supported and sheltered. And there's a lot more that we can do in terms of ensuring that camps have adequate healthcare systems, access to education. There's just a wealth of things that we can do to ensure that folks in refugee camps are coming out of refugee camps and resettled in third countries with, some sort of degrees and experiences that can meet the job force, that can help them enter the workforce more powerfully in their home. And so the UN is actually very important. I think it's the single most important organization impacting refugees.
Well, I've been working with the UN since the beginning of my professional life. So I have to admit that when I say this. So from my perspective, that what I've seen is that what the UN can offer, what the UN can do, is it opens the ability to engage and negotiate with institutions of power that you could not access otherwise. And I think it's incredibly important the ways in which that offers a space that can bring to the same table government, civil society, as well as donors, as well as a whole range of other partners to be able to move things forward. But, and this is I think what's really important, according to a common set of just principles that everybody has to abide by. So that it means that what you end up with is a human rights framework that frames how it is that the dialogue has to take place and what it is that one can do and how one can do it. And, well, yeah, I'll stop there.
How the UN impacts what I'm doing is that the UN is one of the only infrastructures or policy-setting entities that actually counts women. We have statistics about gender-based violence. We have underfunded parts of the UN that have to do with women, but nonetheless, you can tell what's valuable to a society by what they count. Most societies count money, for instance, but a lot of societal structures don't count women. And so that, for me, validates the work that so many women have been doing on the ground, on the front lines, with impacting the quality of women's lives. And if you impact a woman's life, she's going to impact the rest of her family. So it's one of those trim tab issues.
Can I jump on for a second? I 1,000%, and what's amazing in terms of that is how the UN, by pushing for disaggregated data, pushing for the fact that you wanted to pay attention to understand in terms of immunizations or vaccinations what was happening to girls as well as what was happening to boys. It's had a tremendous effect. And now we're moving forward in terms of looking at how is it that you can count lesbians? How is it that you can count gay men? How is it that you can count transgender people? How is it that you can bring this in? And the UN having that power of ability to count in that way is incredibly important in terms of what it is that it can do.
Thank you. Totally. And I just want to also mention that this issue about girls being counted and understanding the data was the subject of our Girl Up campaign's major legislative priority over the past 2 years. There's a piece of legislation that moved through the House Foreign Affairs Committee, chaired by Congressman Royce from California. And that bill was designed to get state and EID to prioritize the issue of making sure that girls are actually counted so that they can get health care they have a right to, they can actually make sure that they can vote, they can migrate, and all the other things that are very important that you can't if you're not counted and you don't have birth registration. So, anyway, I think we have looking over here, do we have time to take a couple questions from the audience?
Absolutely.
Great. Questions, please. I am. Oh, hold on. I'm a little quarter Legion. No, I don't. Well, as hard as my father's midlife crisis, he learned all
Questions? Questions? Well, I'll ask one. Just Peter, if you could, you just mentioned Girl Up. If you could just take a moment and mention the programs of the foundation just for a moment, and that'll segue to our next question.
Well, our first and foremost program is the United Nations Association of the Youth. But we, you may also know our Better World campaign, which works to online. We have almost 1 million supporters around the country now that will take online actions to support a stronger American relationship with the UN. And then we run 4 of the programs, at least that are in my jurisdiction, which is Girl Up, which is a movement of American and increasingly global girls advocating for the rights and needs of girls everywhere. And thanks to Disney, Disney is now funding our Girl Up campaign to go global. So that's very exciting. And yet a California contribution. And Nothing But Nets is our work related to malaria. You may know Steph Curry, he's one of our champions. He has been from back when he was not a big star, and they came to me and they said, we want to bring him to Africa to look at malaria. And I said, I've never heard of the guy. And they're like, oh, he's going to be big someday. I'm like, okay, you want to waste your money. So turned out that was a wise bet. So he has been our champion for a long time. And then Shot at Life, which is our campaign around vaccines. And then our Universal Access Project, which is designed to help meet the unmet need for voluntary family planning.
Thanks, Peter.
What? Oh, yes, yay, thank you.
Okay, question?
Hi, my question for Ramna. I have been working with refugees for many years, and I would like to ask you, what are the social challenges that you face with you when working with refugees? We have our own social challenges, so I would like to know the social challenges that you work with here in the state, because I work with them overseas. So please address that. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for that question. I think one thing that I think, as citizens we may not be aware of or maybe overlook is the fact that the Refugee Act of 1980, when it was drafted to ensure that the refugee resettlement process is a private-public partnership, meaning it was always meant to have
have it so that our refugee resettlement program relies heavily on citizens, people like you and I, to ensure that the safe resettlement and the full resettlement and integration of refugees in their new home. And over time, I think that kind of disappeared, and it became more and more thought to be a resettlement program that the government just sort of runs, or the UN runs. And so I think that's the first myth that we have to debunk. And we have to work towards modernizing our resettlement program, because the Refugee Act of 1980 is not going to hold, and doesn't hold up for today, right? One of the points in the Refugee Act of 1980 also states that refugees must find employment within the first 90 days of being resettled. How many of you could go to a new country, learn the language, get enough, education and training to get a family-sustaining job? We have folks with college degrees who can't find family-sustaining jobs and are in debt years just to pay off the education, right? And so there are many, many challenges, and figuring out how do we lift up a new narrative that tells people the reality of resettlement, which is it's incredibly difficult, it's incredibly under-resourced and under-supported, and that we've lost public support, public will, so how do we bring that piece back? And the one thing I will leave with you, and there's a lot of data supported, and we have a report that we published in the early 2016 that shows this, but housing insecurity follows refugees long after being resettled. So they are in these refugee camps with hopes of being resettled in a new home. Like the United States is the gold standard. Everybody wants to come to the United States. But once they get here, unfortunately, there's a huge crisis in terms of, how do we ensure families are resettled in safe, healthy homes, right? Because right now in a place like San Diego, they're spending upwards of 80%, if not 100% of their income, depending on their education level when they came here, on rent alone. Okay? And so it leaves very little for all of the other needs that families have to take care of their children, to take transportation to their jobs, to pay for insurance, to keep the lights on, all of the things that families need to survive. And so I would say, and then what's even more challenging is the housing conditions in which they live is horrible. Right? So you've got families who are doubling up, tripling up just to save on rent, and the housing conditions are deplorable. And so we need to debunk the myths around resettlement. We need to ensure and increase public support for resettlement, and then the reality is housing insecurity is one of the single most important issues facing refugees right now.
Great, thank you very much. Question right here.
Hi, my name is Estera, and my question is for Peter. I'm currently the chair of the Sustainable Development Goals for an international organization called Mediators Beyond Borders, and part of what we do with the UN is our Sustainable Development Goals Committee. I would like to know kind of a practical way that we can get more involved with creating peace and women empowerment, and using the national action plans to help each country kind of get more involved and achieve those goals.
Great. What's the name of the organization again?
Mediators Beyond Borders International.
Mediators Beyond Borders International. Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Two things, which is I think we need to continue to spend time with the full raft of new political appointees in the administration to make sure that they understand the importance and power of the Sustainable Development Goals. I think there's a lot of work left on that front as we reach out to people at the State Department, U.S. missions, the UN, U.S. Agency for International Development. So happy to talk to you more about that, but I think we need to educate them more about the Sustainable Development Goals. And then second of all, once there's a buy-in, a greater buy-in related to the action plans, and it becomes easier for us to feed in the comments and views of Americans about how the U.S. is doing or not doing as it relates to our own performance under the Sustainable Development Goals. We can't forget Sustainable Development Goals apply to us as well, as they should, unlike the Millennium Development Goals. So this is an exciting transformation that's happened. So I think those are the two primary steps. Thanks, Peter.
First, I want to congratulate all of you. You're so worthy. And then I want to, the reason I asked if you were Norwegian is because I just got back from Norway. And my vice president, our advocacy is Sig Watney, who speaks fluent Norwegian. But the thing I wanted to tell you, Peter, was, and you, is what I found in Norway. I found happy people. I found happy refugees. Why? Because when you are a refugee in Norway, you are given a driver's license, you are given a car, you are given an apartment, you are given a new beginning. Now the Norwegians aren't thrilled about it, I must tell you. But I see happy people anyway, because the people count. And I just want to thank you, Peter, for being here today, for spreading the word. The Better World Fund is really important, and all of you deserve a round of applause. Thank you.
Last burning question from someone who hasn't had the chance to say anything yet. Right over here.
This is kind of an open-ended question. My name is Judith. I'm part of AAW. I'm a graduate student through Arizona State University, Global Technology and Development. So I am pretty versed on global development issues and problems and things like that. And I was wondering what we as citizens can do on the ground, like action-oriented, through all of your causes. Like putting something into real action and not just, for lack of a better term, I really like social media, but I think a lot gets lost. And I think that you need to be smart when promoting and not promoting on social media. And I am a very action-oriented person, so I want to know what I can do, what I can rally my friends and family members to do through all of your programs and the UN.
I'll start and then turn it to Ellen. I think Adopt the Future is a wonderful initiative right there. It's by the United Nations Association and by having people make contributions to Adopt the Future and make sure that schools, kids in refugee settings are actually educated. But as another example, our Nothing But Nets campaign will contribute $10 and it's used to deploy the BedNet, and when the family sleeps under a BedNet, they're less likely to get malaria. So there are some concrete actions that can be taken that are less than 30,000-foot area level and are much more focused on delivering impact on the ground. I think the other element that I just want to surface again is that for those of for Californians, there's a real opportunity here in California to make sure that you reach out to Senator Kamala Harris. You heard Senator Feinstein talk about funding for the UN in this direct and powerful way. I'd love to have her do it as well. You guys can make that happen. I was going to ask you to do that. And that's all.
Okay, at the risk of sounding terribly self-promotional, I'm going to do it anyway. Read my book, Beauty Bites Beast. It's not a how-to book, it's a how come we keep raising girls to think that, one, all men are going to behave themselves, two, that there's going to be a man around to protect them. And it goes through science, religion, all the mores and all the cultural constructs we have that are really fictional and based on men being superior physically, which is, they go, well, women are smaller. Well, I'm a lot bigger than some men I know, and so there's just all these myths, and it really breaks down myths. And the men who have read Beauty Bites Beast, that's how we got the footage from the factory in TJ. The man who owned that factory read my book, and he emailed me and he said, I am so embarrassed. I'm tall, I'm blonde. I had no idea until I read your book how scary it must be to be a female. And would you come down and train the women who work for me how to defend themselves? And that's what started it, and that was one man. So, I poured my heart and soul and brain into that book, so I promote it all over the place because it makes a difference.
I want to focus on the fact that you're university-based for a moment and just say one of the things you need to do is push for these issues to be discussed in the classroom. And one of the things that's really unfortunate right now is a lot of people are teaching as though the world isn't happening around. It's just teaching as teaching goes. So the first thing is to push for these things, push for open forums,
Push for places where you can educate and work with other students, where you can actually get into the community and push for community engagement. Write op-eds for local papers. Put yourself out there and recognize you can't do every issue, and not every issue is your issue. What's the issue that's your issue, and with your friends, what's their issue, and how is it that you can work together to think about those different things?
I couldn't have said it more perfectly. That's just it. And in my statements earlier, I mentioned that as we're trying to lift up refugee communities to have a voice in the public policies that impact them, to have a relationship with their lawmakers, it's really important that other community members who don't work like that are sort of reiterating the same things, right? So if your cause is refugee issues, for example, I would say, pick up your phone, talk to your local mayor, and especially the County Board of Supervisors. Our County Board of Supervisors in California manage refugee policy. They develop a state plan every 3 years, and one way that we can push for support is to ask counties to invest in resettlement. Right now, everything's coming through ORR, the Office of Refugee Resettlement. The state gets it. The state basically requires counties to make a plan. Counties submit it, they get access to ORR dollars. We're asking our local governments and local municipalities to invest in refugee resettlement, and that's, I think, a shame. And that is going to require public support, massive public support. It's going to require us to take action and call. And refugee issues and refugee causes are just one example. You could do this on environment and climate change. I think one of the biggest things in San Diego right now is we're pushing for the climate action plan, the implementation of the climate action plan, and making sure our mayor is investing in that plan so that we reach the goals that we've set out as a city. So there are a number of issues that folks are advocating on. So find an organization who's doing great work that you respect on those issues, and then figure out how you can support them practically. And that could mean showing up at city council to make testimony, picking up the phone to make a call to a lawmaker, or showing up for a local action or rally. You can't underestimate the public pressure that creates for electeds to do something when they have masses and masses of their constituencies turning out. So get loud is, I think, what I want to reiterate.
Great. I just want to thank the panel with Peter and Ellen and Sophia and Ramla. Thank you very much. Don't go anywhere. We have still more program to go. But thank you all very much for being here. I'd like to invite Mel Boynton back up for a quick advocacy moment.
As Peter talked to us, we changed our last advocacy moment to be contact information for Kamala Harris. And this is a time where we can make Peter's wish come true. We've got on the screen the Twitter account handle and the email form. So all you need is those top 2 lines after the senator's name. Get on your Twitter, tweet the senator, or use her email form and thank her. She's a member of the appropriate committee, so her Environment and Health Committee. She's a member of that, and we're thanking her for her outspoken opposition to withdrawal from Paris and for supporting the UN in this matter. And we tell her we're constituents and we care. We hope you'll do that. Also, if you go to the Better World Campaign, BWC, or the UNA website, you can get everything we give to the Congress. It's called the Congressional Briefing Book. So just remember, briefing book. You can get it online and download it for your own use. Thank you all.
Please let me welcome again Dina Rousseau.
This is our prayer for peace. We can all just quietly say it. our hearts right now. And everyone here is blessed. Everyone's work is blessed. And that we all make a greater difference from this moment on.
Okay, you ready for the number 11 Global Forum? Okay, great. Ginny, any closing comment you'd like to make?
Just that there's a lot of hard work that goes into this. Everyone on the committee knows that. But sitting through this and listening to all our speakers today, it's very, very much worth it. And you get so inspired by listening to everyone. You feel you can really go out and change the world. And you know, you really can, each one of you. And I hope you do.
Judith Harris, a closing comment from our president.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here. Barry Simon was at a meeting in here 11 years ago. And John Biden was there, I was there, Mel was there. Probably there were other people in this room there. And Barry, we were talking, what are we going to do, a normal kind of meeting. And Barry Simon said, I want to do a global forum. And he laid out this idea. And we were all a little taken aback, okay, put it together, go back here. Well, he did. And 10 years later, here we are. And this is to thank you, Barry, and for everyone in this room is probably feeling which is what the last person asked. What can I do? How can I do something not just out there, but that's really going to touch a life and really make a difference? Well, you don't have to create a global forum. and do it for 10 years. There's a lot of other ways. But that's what was Barry's passion and is. He took it and he ran with it. And along the way, he garnered a lot of support from all of you in this room and all of the people who have attended other years. So I guess what we're saying is take what is yours and go with it. A good way to do it is to join a UNA chapter because you'll get support, you'll learn all the things that are on the table, all the UNA programs and UNF programs are at our disposal. They're a fingertip away. There's toolkits. Everything is organized. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And another person I want to recognize who is, I'm going to embarrass her, but that's how it's going to be. This is Ginny Hatfield, and Ginny is amazing. She is not one of probably the hardest working person I know. If you want something done, my mom used to say, go to the busiest person you know. I thought, what? She said, trust me, Ginny is that person. Anything, Ginny knows everything and she's there. And this is a very small token of our appreciation. Ginny has been co-chair the last several years and it's just phenomenal. We don't have time for me to sing the rest of her praises, but she is phenomenal to work with, as is our entire division. I am so humbled by everyone in this room, by our honorees, and also inspired, and that's what my hope is. After every meeting, a chapter meeting, a division meeting, my goal is, if I'm involved or anybody else, for people to leave with something to do. You don't leave the meeting and go home and do nothing until you come back the next month or quarter or whatever it is. So I hope that all of you feel that way today, that there is something from being here that you can go home and do in your own community. And it doesn't matter how big it is. If you don't know what you're doing, how it's going to ripple out, and what kind of impact it will have. I think that probably everyone in this room has an impact in ways that you will never know. So keep doing it, and thank you, Barry and Ginny and everyone. And we'll see you next year.
Judith, thank you. So as our president, Judith, I want to present you with a congratulations to the United Nations Association of the USA, a certificate from the mayor, and it reads, to the Southern California Commission that you are our leader. As mayor of the city of Los Angeles, I recommend the United Nations Association of the USA Southern California Division for their dedication to educating, inspiring, and mobilizing Americans to support the principles and vital work of the United Nations, strengthening the United Nations system, promoting constructive United States leadership in that system, and achieving the goals of the United Nations Charter. Judith, on behalf of Julie and I and the rest of the division, thank you for your leadership these past couple of years. I know there's a lot of Trojan fans in the audience, but I'm an Oregon Duck fan. And our team motto this year is do something. So I invite all of you to continue doing something in your area of interest with your organization. Hunger Project, I was a contributor back in the 1970s. The Institute for Global Health at USC, PATA, whatever organization you're involved with, keep doing something. You do make a difference. Thanks for being here today, your support of this event, and we look forward to seeing you again. And by the way, for any of you who are interested in seeing today's program again, I know you can't wait, the sequel will be available to you via www.livestreamers.com, and that will be available.
That'll be available tonight. I will thank everyone. I have a card on the desk out there, just in case they can live streamers and live streamers. So just in case you get confused, I put my card out there. I'm going to be regularly broadcasting for about a month. So if you missed it today, rest of the year, you have to
$5 can see today's event, you got to get a nice lunch also. So thanks for being here. Thank you very much.